Hello, good evening, everyone. It is 6:38 p.m. I want to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Notice is hereby given that a meeting of the Sandy Oaks Animal Control Advisory Committee will be held Monday, June 14th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. by telephonic video conferencing, which will be live streamed and accessible to the public as provided below for the purpose of considering the following agenda items. All agenda items are subject to action in an effort to advance the public health goal of limiting face-to-face meetings, also called social distancing, to slow the spread of coronavirus. There will be no in-person public access to the meeting. The public may participate in the meeting by using the link provided below and the meeting ID. The public will be permitted to offer public comments telephonically or by audio as provided by the agenda and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting. Written comments may be submitted to the committee chair up to 2 hours before the meeting by emailing jpuente@cityofsandyoaks.com and will be provided to the committee for their consideration. The first one is just going to be a quorum call, but there's only 3 of us. Um, let's see here. And then, so we'll skip one and then two, citizens to be heard. No one's reached out to me wishing to be heard to speak to this meeting, so we'll go ahead and go to item number 3, which is discuss and our possible action on the United States Humane Society recommended plan for the animal control facility. So the last meeting we had was we recommended to read pages 1 through 7. Does anyone have any feedback or anything on those pages?
Jennifer, do you see a hand raised?
No, I can't see anything.
CJ Walker has her hand raised.
Oh, okay, now I just opened up that screen. Go ahead, CJ.
Um, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the only thing I was wondering, well, the main thing I was wondering about was the math on page 2, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if Chris had feedback on that math. I mean, I played with the math, but I don't know how correct it is. So, because it's talking about per household, whereas we are dealing with a lot of strays and loose dogs. So we have the per household, but we also have the stray dogs.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask Chris if he had thoughts on the math.
Chris, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So yeah, the math is gonna fluctuate, especially with us, since our majority of animals that we intake are stray animals. Um, I don't know the percentages of how many animals we have that or have had that are owned versus the animals that are stray, but I do know for sure that the stray amount is way higher than animals that have been reclaimed. So
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about, because that math goes into the total square footage.
right.
Initial
Mhm.
math is for how many we have, but then it goes into square footage. So I don't even know how to begin to estimate
Yeah,
an
because
idea.
there's no way of knowing how many dogs are out there as of now.
But
I
isn't
mean,
that something we were gonna discuss?
yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, the only way of knowing is actually getting out there and getting an exact number of how many dogs are stray, and you know, versus how many dogs are owned that are just stray. You know what I mean? Or loose. So that's a difficult number to come up with, especially with us. So I mean, I really don't know what number we can input to have an exact estimate.
Yeah, because it's my understanding that would determine the size and cost.
We could do it by household, how many households we have currently, and then do an average of how many dogs per household. I know they like to guesstimate that people like to have either 2 to 5 dogs
Mhm.
per household. And then some houses don't even have dogs.
Right.
So those stray dogs can come into consideration for those people that don't have any dogs. Or we can do a survey of the city and actually have people respond to this and say, well, I have 3 dogs, I have 5 dogs, and pretty much like a census.
Yeah.
But again, that would take some time and organization.
Okay.
Chris, I have a question. When we bring in dogs, do we take them to, like, who does triage on them to make sure they're healthy or anything like that?
The vet does, but usually, if the dog isn't really bad, we don't take them in because we know that dog doesn't really have anything wrong with it. It's just a stray dog that's running around. Now, if they're really bad and you can tell, like, something's wrong with that dog,
Uh-huh.
we don't want to take that dog in and get medical treatment on it or have, figure out what's wrong with it if we're just going to end up euthanizing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that cost would be irrelevant if we were to do that. So we try to keep the dogs that we know are healthy, and not take them to the vet because we know they're good. But the dogs that are looking pretty bad, obviously we wouldn't keep them together with the healthy dogs, but we try to separate them. And then if the vet just tells us up right, from just looking at the dog, like, hey, that dog doesn't look good, from what I can tell, that dog either might die or it's not adoptable or whatever, we'll determine whether we're going to euthanize or continue trying to save the dog. It just depends.
And so have we ever come across a situation where we had to isolate a dog, like, from the others? Like, how did we do that if they came in sick?
Sick as in like distemper, parvo? What do you mean?
Yeah,
Like,
something, because when I was reading the document, I went a little bit further than,
Mhm.
but I was just wondering, like, the quarantine, because it's saying we're supposed to have a quarantine area and like a healthy area, and then an isolation for the dogs that are sick. But I don't know if we've ever came across a situation where we've brought in a sick dog that we had to keep separate from all the other dogs.
so if in the field we see the dog and it's not behaving like a normal dog, we won't take it to the shelter right away. We'll take it to the vet because either the dog has a disease
Mm-hmm.
or something's really wrong with it, or we've had this happen before. We've had to euthanize a dog on the spot because it's just so bad. But that's an extreme case. Usually we don't have that problem. The dogs are just strays that look ugly.
We have
But
had to quarantine though.
no. We do not quarantine in our facility at all. We either home quarantine or take them to the vet. That doesn't
Okay,
happen
that's
here.
what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's talking about rabies. We do not have rabies quarantine at our facility.
Right. No.
That is handled at the vet.
Right.
Right. That way it's controlled and we know for sure it's getting done correctly.
All right. Does anyone else have anything else to contribute? Okay. Let's see here. And that was the only agenda item that we had today. We can, for next meeting, I read through the document, and a lot of the document had to do with designing our own facility and meeting with contractors and architects. I don't know if that necessarily pertains to us. But the part that did stand out to me was, I think, from page 38 to 43. And it's kind of some of the issues that I had brought up, but if we can read 38 to 43 for next meeting, and then we can discuss that.
If you want to adjourn your meeting, then if there's any other comments outside that, we can address those.
Yeah, no. Does anybody else have any concerns or comments? Okay, so it is 6:49 and this meeting is adjourned.